My name is James Williams G. This is Kung Fu Habit number 2. This video is not for children in any way, shape, or form. This will be a two-part video. It is also, the reason that it's not for children is because it has to deal with racism. And racism is taught. It is not learned. It is not inherited. It is not something that you can buy. And it's something that we all need to address and throw away. I will try to keep this as PG-13 as possible. Hopefully there won't be any eruptions, which would make this a three-part video. But if you have any kids in the room, if they're 15 and up, it's fine for them to watch. If they're like 12 and down, it's probably not. And if they're in that in-between age of 13 and 14 where they're just discovering who they are, and depending on how you are raising your children, then you can decide if they can watch. But for 15-year-olds, you pretty much know who you are or who you're trying to become. So you can probably watch this. I'm not going to sugarcoat anything. I have lived with racism as a personal experience for most of my life. I have fought it, I have stood against it, and I have decisively tried my best to not fall into the doubts of being a racist. Now, I will be straight up with you on this video. I will give you 199.99% of what I believe you can handle. It is up to you to accept it, believe it, and move on. It's up to you to agree, disagree, like, subscribe. It's up to you to just give me the finger if you want. And that's fine. You have your opinion, you have your thought process, and there's nothing I can do to change how you feel. But life experiences will give you the best teachings ever in this world. Now that takes care of my PSA. So let's begin. Alright, my name is James Williams Jr. This is Kung Fu Habit number 2. It is very important that you understand where I'm coming from. And I have to stand up because my hip replacement doesn't allow me to sit or stand for too many minutes or hours at a time, So it's a little bit of a problem. It's more like an annoyance, not as much as a problem as it is an annoyance. So I was born in 1973, the year of the ox for the Chinese New Year, August 23rd for the zodiac. I am a Virgo. Suppose you're wondering what the hell the relevance of that was. No, there was no relevance to that. That was just so that you know that I am actually 43 years old and that I'm actually going to tell you the truth. I'm 5'3.5" tall. I am in the range of 120 to 130 pounds, roughly, give or take. I'm not supposed to go over 130 pounds, so I have to work on maintaining a decent weight for my hip replacement. Alright, because you can only put so much weight in this stuff, and my other hip is going because of overcompensating. Alright, I don't think I'm allowed to go over 125 pounds, so I probably have to cut down and lose about 5 pounds. So I have to really start working out more. Now, this video is about racism. In every way, shape, and form, I'm going to give you racism at its best, and you're not gonna fucking like it. Alright, so much for keeping it PG. When I was but a boy, I never knew that I was any other color than black. You could not tell me I wasn't black. You couldn't tell me that black people didn't mean something to me. You could not tell me that no matter what I did and where I did it, it wasn't the black thing to do. Clearly, I was misinformed until I got deeper into school. It was a teacher of color that taught me about learning my heritage, which I greatly appreciate, and I'm going to shout out her name, Miss Conrad. I thank you wherever you may be. It was 5th grade. It was Berlin Moran School. All right, so we got that out of the way. I've had racist incidences in that school. There was a race war in that school, which I have revealed, but I never revealed the name of the school until today. Lots of things have happened to me in my life that you will either consider racist or not racist, and I have even made racist mistakes and racist remarks myself. I'm not going to lie about it. I didn't know that there was any other Asian country besides China and Japan for a very long time until I met people who were from freaking Vietnam, So, let's go with my guilt and my shame first. One of my first racist incidents that I was perpetuating of, me and this little Asian fella got to arguing. I have no idea why we were arguing. Kids argue over some dumb ass shit. And he had said something, and at this time, Quaker rice cakes were like really popular, and rice cakes in Asia have always been popular. So whatever he said, I got mad and I got racist, and I told him to carry his ass back to China. And this is when I learned that China and Japan were not the only Asian countries. So he goes, well, fuck you, I'm from Vietnam. And that's also when I learned that Asian people actually cuss and speak English very fucking well. So, I think we were like in maybe the third or the fourth grade, and and he didn't say anything racist to me after that racist remark. So that's one of my sinful shames there because I have done racist shit as well. I am not a racist. I learned racism from hanging around people who were taught racism. You know, so washing my slate clean of that, and now that you guys know, I've had racist incidences prior to, which made me more susceptible to becoming a racist. You understand? I was always called half breed, or I was always called nigger. None of them are very appealing. So when I had the opportunity to be a racist, I was a racist. I told him to go the fuck back to China and eat his fucking rice cakes, and he was like, "No, fuck you. I'm from Vietnam. We don't even like Chinese people." And I was like, I did not know that. I had never heard of Vietnam, and I had two uncles that served in the Vietnam War. It wasn't something that they came and talked about because I was born in '73. Vietnam, I believe, ended in '75. So by the time I was old enough to go to school, we never talked about Vietnam. All right, never. Before I even learned I was part Native American, I never saw color on people. All right, my great grandmother on my father's side was full-blooded Cherokee. I never knew. To me, she was just grandma. And that's how most people are raised. You don't know your heritage if you don't ask. And most kids don't ask because they're too busy running around being kids and having their head up their ass and only concerned with what's going on in their life that affects them, not what affects their entire family or everything else. Which is cool because you're a kid. You don't know better. You have to be taught this shit. Back somewhere in between all that, in the third grade, a little girl called me a nigger and I bust her lip. I have never forgiven myself for that because as a martial artist, which I knew martial arts at the time, I should have walked away. But that reflex action kicked in and I busted her lip. To her, I do not apologize for my direct action. I do apologize for not being a man as a boy and walking away from that disturbance. It's kind of hard to apologize for something that was kind of right, you know, and especially when you've been the victim of racism all your life. Now, eventually, there would be a time in my life where there would be this movie with John Travolta called White Man's Burden, where if everything that happened to black people had happened to white people instead. And it was a pretty good movie. You guys should probably go check it out. I'm not going to go there. I'm not going to get off the topic. But John Travolta and Sidney Poitier, I think it was Sidney Poitier. It might not have been Sidney Poitier, but it was another black actor. It was Harry Belafonte. I'm sorry, Mr. Poitier, and I'm sorry, Mr. Belafonte, for using the black stereotype of us all looking alike. But it was Harry Belafonte and John Travolta. So you should probably check that out because they were hiding John Travolta from the authorities, etc., etc. But it was called White Man's Burden. So now that I plugged that movie, there you go. That movie gives you a good insight on how white people would have handled racism had everything been in reverse, had black people discovered America, etc., etc. So as we move into this new millennium, this new presidency, have you not watched some of the things that have flown out of Donald Trump's mouth about being a racist and a sexist and a straight up fucking bigot? And the thing about racism is not something that is inherited because as a child, I could tell the difference with people's color, but they were just people to me. People didn't start getting really racist until I got into like high school and middle school. In high school, I think my first racist moment came like by not acknowledging my heritage, and people were like, "Yeah, you're mixed, aren't you?" No, I'm black. No, you're mixed, because most black people don't have curly hair, which is why I always kept it close so no one could really tell. But my facial features do not say that you're black, so that really didn't help me by keeping my hair close. Also, curly hair is a pain in the ass to deal with. Sorry about that. Airwolf was one of my favorite shows, so it's my alarm to wake me up. But anyway, there's multi levels of racism that has gone through my life. I'm jumping back and forth to the whole video, so if you guys are confused, I'm sorry. But as a boy, it was bad, but it wasn't that bad. As an adolescent, it got worse. As a teenager, it got so much more worse. As a grown man, it's more, I don't want to say acceptable, but more tangible, and it happens in certain areas in life and certain areas it don't. So let's go back to childhood and adolescence. I think after the nigger incident, um, it went from nigger to half breed, and the half breed just seemed to kept happening more and more and more. And then, like I said, once I got to Miss Conrad class, is when I learned that yeah, half breed was a little bit more accurate. It wasn't exactly accurate, but it was pretty damn close because they didn't have the word multicultural at the time. If you were half black and white, depending on how much pigment you have in your skin, some of you were mulatto, you could pass more for white than black. Well, that shit didn't work for me, as you can tell. I'm high yellow as hell. So it's like, yeah, you're a half breed. Pure and simple, you're a half breed. There's just no ins and outs about it. And then there was my mom. My mom could pass for white, but her father's father was black, or her father's mother was black. Somebody in her father's side was black, but my mom looks like a straight up white woman. Most people think that my mom is white. She looks whiter than some of my white friends, white moms who are actually white. I have been told that by my boy Scott Crooks when we were chilling. I don't know where he is. God bless you, Scott. And then my dad, his dad was black, and his mom was Native American, but my dad looks more black. So if you see any pictures of my dad, you want to know why he looks more black. It's because his dad was black. Now my great grandmother was exceptionally light on his side, and her daughter was my color. So tribal colors change by location. As my grandmother Bay had copper skin, I have high yellow skin. Might be a little copper from the sun, but I have high yellow skin. Trust me, everything in the farmer's tan it's real. I have high yellow skin, and I have been called high yellow before. So and that was a racist statement. Yeah, hey, you high yellow. There's nothing worse than reverse racism when black people are on you, and there's like maybe 5 to 7 different shades of black people. However, unfortunate, I'm closer to the high yellow or the higher yellow standard, which has brought resentment and disappointment through most black people. I'm pretty sure there's going to be a third part to this. And when you're doing these things, there's not enough people coming around giving interviews to people who are mixed or a multicultural ethnicity, and they don't know where we stand, and they don't really give a damn, and there's no movies for us to make because no one wants to admit that we exist on some level or another, because if that was the case, The Rock wouldn't be the only one getting those roles. Anyway, moving on. When I found out that I was part Native American, when I found out I was part white, it was like a whole rush of what the fuck. Yeah, it was a whole rush of what the fuck. It answered all my questions about why people were calling me half-breed, why people were calling me mixed, why people would not call me by my name and they would call me boy. And as I got into middle school, it only got worse with me and black people. It didn't really get that bad with me and white people. My white friends were pretty cool with me being mixed right up until high school. High school is when shit started like really going in a different direction with some of my white friends, But while I was in grade school and middle school, it wasn't really that bad. It was actually kind of cool to be mixed because they were like, yeah, you're cool. You're like not really one of us, but you're not really one of them. Except for that race war thing, then it was like neither side wanted me, so kind of jiggled around. But when we got to like middle school, when I went to Walker, when I went to Beaufort, things were a little bit different. Things were a little bit more accepting for the most part, except for the fact that people started calling each other niggers, honkies, and crackers and shit like that, and stuff. And I was always just a mutt. So then when I got a job, getting a job, those are experiences that would just remain in infamy of filling out applications for people when they're looking at me and I put black and they're like, are you sure? And I'm like, yo, I know what fucking color I am. My birth certificate says Negro, so that makes me black legally. But I was born in 73 and they didn't have any biracial marks or multicultural marks or any of that stuff. So you put down black because that's what the government classified my ass as black. Do I want to go back and change my birth certificate? Fuck no, because I've had the hardest time in the universe proving to people that I'm actually a black man. Alright? But also in acceptance, I'm also a Native American man.
I will never be a white man. Even if I have white ancestors, I will never, ever, ever be a white man. That is acceptable. I have accepted that fact. I can't peel off enough layers of skin to lighten my ass up to be a white man. Alright? And to any white people that I have offended, I am sorry. But the truth of the matter is, I can pass for a Native American man. I can pass for a black man on a good day if I'm lucky. But most people think I'm either a Mexican or a Hawaiian. But that's just the Cherokee blood within. And when I was coming up and I got this job at the bowling alley known as Kegler's here in Charlottesville, I think that from 16 to 20 was probably like some of the worst times I've had with racial experiences. There was a guy, and the story I've told you guys 1,000 times, so the short version is he wouldn't stop calling me Chief. And it's like, why do you keep calling me that, man? He's like, well, you look like you belong on a reservation and not out here in society. And that's pretty much the gist of that. And I was like, dude, my grandmothers are Native American. I'm raised outside of the resi because they left the resi. One wasn't even ever raised in a resi, and the other one and her brother, they left the reservation, and I guess they left to get jobs. And clearly none of that shit panned out that they were going to go back. And I guess reservation rules and laws are different from what we have out here. And I guess there's more freedoms out here, so I guess they just never went back. My great-grandmother was named Ada, alright? So, and to Carrie and them, you know, Ada was their mother. She was my great-grandmother, and there was nothing I could do except accept whatever the hell she told me. And she used to tell me a lot of Native American stories and how her and her brother John would cut through the moccasins with the water and all that other stuff. And, you know, there wasn't really a indigenous school for them, you know, because you either went to about this time was the separate but equal crap, where you had a black school and you had a white school, and then when they integrated, the Native Americans were pretty much left out to hang anywhere, so that's pretty much how that worked. Now there are schools on reservations, and there's schools off of reservations that have all these elaborate ways for everyone to learn and try to build a peaceful relationship. The problem is, in American society, America is the country that started racism. You guys don't want to believe that. You guys don't want to hear that shit. But let's keep that shit real. America is the country that started racism. And if we didn't start racism, we sure as hell blew it to the second power. I'm James Williams Jr. This is Kung Fu Havoc number 2. Stay tuned to part 2 of this racist ass video.